So we've been having a great time. I have anyway. And I think, I'm always having a great time. But I'm having a great time, and I think if you've been here for this series of talks, that you would agree that this month we have been talking about being miracle workers. And we're following the master teacher and the master miracle worker, Jesus' word. These things and more you can do. So, really simple, really powerful. And so we've been looking at the 12 Conditions of a Miracle. It's a book that was written by Todd Michael. And it's really full of so much wisdom. And what is a miracle then? I love that word, and most of you do, I think. But it's merely a sequence of cause and effect. You know, God does, it does. The infinite loving divinity energy of the universe, it does, and so it is. It's not like it has to wait for the law to work like we do. It is the law. It is the cause. It is the effect. It is all of it instantly. So, Jesus knew this, and he is the master teacher that we've been following for this month's talks. So these 12 conditions, or 12 states of consciousness, were taught to us by Jesus when he performed the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fish, which we've been talking about all month. Because there's so much in that little. I can't wait for Reverend Mitch Austin. Shout out to you if you're watching, Mitch. To give us that interpretation, the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, to break it down so that we can actually make sense of it. So these 12 states of consciousness taught to us by Jesus about feeding thousands of people with this small amount of food. In the course of a miracle, there were 12 specific conditions or states of consciousness that we've been talking about all month. And next week, and in the newsletter, I decided I'm going to write all 12 states of a condition, of a miracle, to be a miracle worker. Because when all 12 work together, it's like they work on 12 pistons, right, of a car. Looking at the car people here, because I just get in and turn the key and drive. But up until today, we have explored 7 of our 12 conditions. And today we're going to look at 8, 9, and 10. So condition number 8, gratitude. Gratitude. Really one of the most high vibrational states of being to be in. So the reading from Matthew 14:19, we explored this last week. And we're adding 2 simple words that bring us to condition number 8. So this is what was written. And he ordered the people to sit down on the ground. That was last week, condition number 6, grounded. And he took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he looked up to heaven. Remember the seeing? That was condition number 7. And blessed them. Bless them is what we're looking at for condition 8 this morning. The Greek word that was translated into blessed in the traditional passage can indeed mean blessed. Blessed, but it also means something a little bit more. It means to praise, to speak well of, and to give thanks for. To be blessed, we're giving thanks for all the good that the divine has bestowed upon us, in us and through us. The mindset that calls forth miracles is the mindset of gratitude. That's condition number 8. And I think most of us kind of knew that gratitude was going to be in these 12. Those have been following this 12 conditions, because to be grateful it really brings about so much more good in our lives, as we're going to find out this morning. Author Sarah Von Brefnock once wrote this: "Every time we remember to say thank you, we experience nothing less than heaven on earth." Just start giving thanks. Holmes, in Science of Mind, wrote, "In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven." Heaven on earth. These states of being, heaven and hell, are states of being here, now. There is only here and now. What comes after we leave these bodies, I'm not sure. I have my own theories, and you can have your own theories. We don't have dogma, but that gratitude of just being here and experiencing all the good that is available to us. Just being in this room, looking at the sky. These are the things that sometimes we're not aware of. So miracle workers are invariably filled with gratitude. They eat, sleep, breathe gratitude. Miracle workers experience every event, every moment in the simple gifts that life has to offer. Miracle workers give thanks for all the experiences, and knowing that all these experiences come together for our very highest good in any situation. Any situation. Even those that don't feel good. I'm thinking now, I have been thinking of a lot of things. So I'm standing up here talking to you, my mind is like, yeah, think of that, tell that story. Well, this story kind of sticks out because it just happened yesterday and today. So I've been in touch with someone who actually gave us a couple of workshops. Shira. Shira is in Israel. She lives in Israel. And yesterday she posted a video. And you can imagine how many emotions she's going through. She's got 2 kids there, she's been living there for a long time, who are in, she's from Cherry Hill, who are in the war, her daughter and her son. She's got another son at home. She hasn't really slept well because she's been sleeping 3 to 4 hours with all the rockets banging and making all that noise, and just the sheer magnitude of whatever experience that she is having. But she gets on Facebook Live, and she's hysterical, but she's like, this is not a pity party, and I cry easy, you know. But she just turned 50 yesterday, okay? And she had all these plans. She writes sacred chant prayers all of the time, and she's been holding prayer circles with her commune. She's been chanting, she's been singing and playing her guitar, always sacred music. And when she turned 50, which was yesterday, she had a vision before all of this war started. And this is about finding the good. She's in the middle of a war. She's got all these emotions going on. And her vision was to go into the record studio and to record one of her prayer chants a week for 50 weeks. And she thought, well, this is like really small. This is nothing compared to what's going on, but this is my vision. And she did reach her goal late last night, which I was very thrilled about. The point being that even when things look so bad, she found the good, and she shares that good. And her story just gives me God bumps always. I'm all God bumped up here. But it's just an example of no matter what is going on our planet, we can still hold that higher vision for the good to unfold. And last week I shared with you a quote about seeing the end, and that was condition number 7. And this was from Admiral James Stockdale, who was the highest ranking U.S. military officer in the Hanoi Hilton prisoner of camp in Vietnam. during the height of that war, and I read to you in part last week what he said in an interview after he was finally released. It was, I think, about 7 or 8 years as a prisoner. He said, I lost my faith in the end of I never lost my faith for the end of the story. I never doubted that I would get out. And because last week I wanted to focus on keeping our eye and his eye on the end result, I edited what I spoke of last week, and I want to go into detail now. He says, I never lost my faith in the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into a defining moment in my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade. He would not trade. In other words, he's grateful even in the midst of some of the most horrific challenges. These are just examples for us to know, yes, all this is going on. It's always been going on with humans on this planet, but we can still see the good. There is always good in every single experience. So I love this list of gratitude statements. I'm grateful for the mess I have to clean up after a party because it means I've been surrounded by friends. The taxes I pay because it means I'm employed. The clothes that fit a little snug because it means I had enough to eat. And I don't know, I had a little challenge with that one. I think I've been really eating well. All the complaining I hear about our government, because it means I live in a free country. The lawn that needs mowing, the windows that need cleaning, the floors that need vacuuming, because it means I have a home, or I live in a home, and home is where you live. It doesn't mean you have to actually own anything. It's your home. I'm going to go on. The pile of laundry and ironing, because it means my loved ones are close by, or I have enough clothes to wear that I can iron them, because I still iron. One of the few people. In weariness and aching muscles, because it means I've been productive. And even the alarm that goes off early in the morning, because it means I am alive. So take a moment right now to reflect on something that you can be extremely grateful for. And you can bless it as it relates to your dream, your vision, your goal, whatever you want to call it. Something you'd like to experience. Just as Jesus was grateful for the blessed substance he had. And with that, we're going to move on to conditions 9 and 10. And he took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he looked up and blessed them. And he broke them into pieces and gave them to his disciples. And the disciples placed them before the people. And remember that Jesus got this, or the disciples got this bread from a young boy. This is what he had. And so they gave it to Jesus, who then blessed it. So condition 9, one of my favorites, acting as if. We hear that a lot now. Never used to hear it a lot, but it's very powerful, very powerful. So here you are, standing in Jesus' sandals. You look out at the thousands of hungry, starving, famished people, thousands of them. And you have indicated that you are going to be doing something about it that will defy the known laws of time and space. And yet, all you have is an armload of food, and you're going to feed thousands of people. You offer the blessing, as he did. And now what do? Well, without skipping a beat, Jesus started breaking up that food and gave it out for distribution. In other words, he began to act, and he acted as if the existing supply was sufficient and met the needs of the crowd. He just knew it. Without hesitation and with great confidence, he began to break the existing food into smaller fragments. He completed the stage of action by distributing all of these fragments into the crowd. The most important thing to remember about acting as if is that it all begins with acting. And acting is an action. An action. Miracle workers know that if they do not act, nothing will happen. That is so important to remember. You have no doubt heard of the story of the man who desperately pleaded with God to win the lottery. But he never did. He never did. He was always pleading. One day, God got quite fed up with this guy's constant pleading and whining. So he said in a booming voice, "Well, at least go buy the lottery ticket." You might have heard that before. It's an old one. Gotta take the action. It's a very appropriate illustration of the importance of that taking action. Ernest Holmes speaks a great truth in Science of Mind book when he tells us, all the power of the universe is within you. Feel it, know it, and then act as though it were true. He's telling us this already. And this is 100 years ago. It's been going on forever. Act as if. Seize the very, this is, William James wrote this, the psychologist. He coined the term, actually, act as if and it will be. Henry James. He wrote this, seize the very first possibility to act on every resolution you make and on the emotional prompting you may receive in the direction of the habit you aspire to gain. To begin is often half the battle. Isn't it always? To begin something that you've been talking about. To begin an action. It's a great statement. And another great statement is, what God can do for me, God must do through me. It's always flowing through us when we open up and become aware of it. And then I have an example of acting as if, because I've done this so many times in my life. I think I was born with the act as if gene in me. So many of you know I signed up for this advanced consciousness class, 30-week class. And there were so many obstacles in the way of this. The time it starts, they're in California, I'm here. That got rectified at the conference. But I'm signing up for it. I was on a mission to sign. I've been waiting a year to study with Reverend Dr. James Mellon. And I said, I'm going to let the universe manifest how I'm going to pay for this thing, because it wasn't inexpensive. And I believed it was going to happen. And then that was Friday. Sunday night, it got all paid for. And I was not looking for it. I was just open. I just said I'm going to let the universe supply, the funds to take this. And, okay, it was so easy. Because I acted as if I signed up for the class before I even knew I could pay for it. It's like the time I bought a gas stove and I didn't have a hookup for the gas stove. And that was a Friday. It was delivered on Monday. I had someone out there that hooked up, a plumber. I had him come out and he hooked that whole thing up and that thing was working Monday night. Act as if it already exists. Then just allow, believe, faith that the universe always provides. We say it. The universe always provides. Do you believe it? Do you do it? Do you act on it? That's the key. That's the key. Think about this idea. The activity of God is expressed by providing us with unlimited good. Our action, however, is the operation that completes the manifestation of God's good. Action, always. And here's a question that you can ask yourself regarding your miracle. How would I act if I thought all my desires were not impossible? How would I act if I thought it's not impossible. All things are possible in God. We say this. We have a set of unconscious areas of possible, and unfortunately for us, we often refuse to try or even move beyond these limits. And that box they're always talking about, that invisible box, is the one that we impose upon ourselves as I can't step out of it because of this, because of that. There's always a because. And we refuse to venture out of that box that we've created. But limits are being broken all the time by people who choose to live the question, what would I do if I didn't think it was impossible? The impossible, I am possible, the impossible happens all the time. Think of Olympic athletes. For years and years, the record for running a mile was just over 4 minutes. And many people said that that was the limit of the physical capacity of a human. Cannot go any faster than 4 minutes. Then in 1954, a young man by the name of Roger Bannister didn't buy into that. He didn't believe it. And he crossed that mile in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. He did it in under 4 minutes. And a lot of people said, well, he just got really lucky. Oh, the wind was with him that day. All these different, excuses of why this happened. It's impossible, yeah? Well, here's the interesting thing about his breaking the impossible barrier. In almost no time at all, that mile was run in under 4 minutes by 66 times by 26 different people, different athletes. When something that for years was considered to be impossible was suddenly proven to be possible, and then look what happened. It opens the gate for others. It opens the gate. Oh yeah, if he did it, I could do it. What is holding us back but our own limited thinking? And now we're going to move on to condition 10 of the 12. Condition 10 is engaging the cycle. I love this one. I love all of them. The miracle of the loaves and fish is characterized by a circular flow of energy and resources. As condition 1 through 9 are established, energy flows toward the miracle worker. And in the 10th condition, the miracle worker causes that incoming flow to circle back so that it travels out away from him. The passage in Matthew tells us he gave them, meaning the broken pieces of food, to the disciples, and the disciples placed them before the people. And they had gotten them from that young boy. They received them, they gave them to Jesus to bless the disciples, and then the food was placed back to the people. He returned the food to his disciples, and the disciples did give them back to the crowd. And this set up that circular current, a cycle. Everything in the universe moves in circles, in spirals, The manifestation process occurred while the energy is looping back. As we give, we do receive. It is the law of circulation. It absolutely works. As we give, we receive. As we receive, we give. Constantly. And at the end of the miracle, when the remaining fragments are gathered and returned, the energy comes full circle. The circuit is complete, and the engine is primed for another powerful stroke. Remember how the miracle began and ended. With Jesus, always. Jesus went alone before this happened, and right after it, he went alone yet again. And Todd Michaels, in the book, wrote, every enlightened person in history has tried to tell us that we receive as we give. And it will always be true. What goes around comes around. We reap just as we sow. And as we give, so shall we receive. There is one important exception. When we consistently establish a circular current in conjunction with all the other conditions, and we've got 12 conditions of a miracle, resources can actually multiply. And as they pass around the circuit, seeds that are sown by miracle workers grow many times over and produce a huge, abundant, enormous harvest. Why is that? The phenomena, and it's a phenomena, is what happens as electricity flows through transformers. An electron flows around and around, and the series of circular coils within a transformer, the power is then increased. The voltage of the electricity that emerges from the transformer greatly exceeds the voltage of the electricity that enters. As we give, it gets larger. This is the expansion. And 12 conditions of the 12 states of consciousness expanding. To activate this condition in our lives, when you receive, look for ways to give back. Work on this until it becomes a reflex. You can't return it to the person from whom you received it. If you can't, return it to someone else. But keep the flow moving. Remember the pay it forward phenomena of 7 years ago that we have talked about many times here. Well, just so happens, I was at the conference the week before last, and I was one of 5 people that one of the speakers gave this envelope to, and it's got money in it, and it says, pay it forward. Well, I've been carrying it around with me, so it's still going on. I've been carrying this around with me, like, who am I going to give this to? I got to pay it forward. And don't you know, this morning I get a text from someone that's pretty destitute. Do you have even $5? There's $5 in it. To give me for food? Of course, I'm going to give them more. But there it is. I'm like, thank you, God. I held on to this until I was guided to pay it forward. And that is going to be paid forward to her. And where it goes from there is none of my business. But it's still working. Just to let you know, pay it forward. Another really important thing about cycles is to remember the growth occurs in cycles. Consider the growth of the rings around a tree. The greatest tree in the forest has weathered droughts, all kinds of conditions. Honor the ebb tide as it goes out, and don't worry that it's not going to return. Don't ask, what's wrong? The water went out. Ask, how does it want to express more fully here? Because it will come back. Think of the circle itself. Top part of giving out. Curve around, and the bottom is the downtime, and the curve back up again is receiving. So we're giving pausing, and we are receiving. It's the cycle of life. And if we want to be in the flow of life, we must practice this. This is true and powerful stuff here. It really is. Now we have 10 of the 12 simple yet life-transforming conditions of a master miracle worker. And very quickly, I'll briefly say not what they are, but what they do. I will have the handout next week, and it'll be in the newsletter. A master miracle worker has attained stillness of the mind and is beautifully grounded in the presence of the present moment. Remember, he went into meditation to empty ourselves. Empty ourselves. A master miracle worker is aligned with spirit, the spirit of love through compassion. A master miracle worker is a vehicle of giving and his conviction behind his visualization. Talked about giving. A master miracle worker stays focused on the source and is grateful for everything. A master miracle worker acts confidently and without hesitation. Sign up for something. Do this. Step out. Make your plans for the travel without even knowing how it's going to happen. It will happen. It will happen. And a master miracle worker relaxes through the ever-present cycles of life. You may not yet feel like a master miracle worker, but don't let that stop you from opening up your consciousness to that flow of life, because it truly is taking place. Only we limit it. Only we limit it. Our thoughts limit our good. You will move, as you practice this more and more, you will move to a state of being a novice to the state of being a master. Because that's the way it works. That's the way it works. So join us next week as we finish this ongoing Miracle Worker series with conditions, what are they? Conditions 11 and 12. Because they're going to be very, very powerful, I promise. And so it is.
So it is.